Hi, everybody. I'm back. I'm glad to see you. I think we are live here. Um, Looks like we are anyway. And just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I need to switch my screens around. Still working on that. Still working on that old technology issue here because it's tricky, especially when you have multiple cameras and multiple um, screens, and it's crazy. I never quite know where I'm looking. So, but anyway, here I am. I'm gonna try to get things where I can see them and everything, so that I know who I'm looking at. And today, for Holy Moments and Holy Places, we are going to be talking about Westminster Abbey in London, England, where I happen to have been visited 3 times. I've been fortunate enough, but there was one time in particular where I had a special invitation that I want to tell you about. Only in a place like that could I have made a little devotional out of it because it was really quite something. Um, so the first time I went to London was in 2011, and it was a 3-day stopover after having visited David's family in Switzerland, where you saw the Kirche Witzbrunnen last week, and we had gone to Westminster Abbey, and there's certain parts of Westminster Abbey. I don't know if you visited, but there's certain parts of it that are off limits. You just can't go in because they're sacred spaces. But for the most part, you can wander around. You can walk over Charles Darwin's grave. Actually a memorial stone, and the crypts are underneath Westminster Abbey, where all of the actual remains are. But there's effigies on the tops of the coffins that are above ground. One of the funniest things that I saw there was, and I don't know exactly the meaning of this, they didn't say, but I was kind of laughing about it because I thought in her last act was to have total dominance over her sister. But Queen Elizabeth is actually buried on top of her sister Mary. Their crypts are one right on top of each other. And the other side of that is that if you've ever had to bury somebody at the National Cemetery, um, the spouses are buried one on top of the other too. And that was true with my parents. So I think, was it because she loved her sister, or was it because she hated her sister? I don't know. The jury's still out on that one. So I hope you maybe do a little bit of research on that one and see what the feeling was. But that was my first time in Westminster Abbey. I was in awe, complete and utter awe of the size and the scale of this place. The ceilings are, I can't even tell you, 10 stories high. I don't know. They're really high. There's arches. There's just tons and tons of beautiful architecture to look at. I'm kind of looking around. I'm not looking right at you because I forgot to print out something that I need for my little discussion with you here today. So I'm gonna put this over here so I can get a gander at it. Um, but the next time that I went was in 2014 as the chaperone for my daughter's drama group. And being that I had been there before, people were asking me questions like, where do we go here? And they were asking Jane questions. And, you know, it's hard. You were somewhere 3 years ago. Do you really remember every detail about it? I don't. And I would have had to consult my pictures at the time to really know. So I was pretty much there were groups that I said, one of the great ways always in any new place to visit is to get the audio tour. They have those little things you hold up to your ear and you press a number or you scan it, over something, and then it tells you a little bit about wherever you are. So I advised everybody that if they really wanted to know a lot about Westminster Abbey, to get one of those. And I believe that they were free or very minimal cost. I don't recall that they were super expensive, maybe £2 to rent, which is about $3. So as people were doing that, since I had already been there and already taken the audio tour, I didn't take it that day. And we had quite a bit of time, but it took us a while to get in there. We had to wait in a line. The very first time I'd been there was no line. We walked right in. Boom. It was a rainy day, and we were just able to walk right in. This particular day, we'd had to wait quite a while. So everybody was a little antsy about getting in there. They wanted to get things done. So we got into Westminster Abbey, and they were wandering around. The chaperones were wandering around, and we had an arranged time as to where we were going to meet at a certain time. As I was walking down around the nave, which is kind of the inner sanctum of most cathedrals, a man came down a little staircase. There was maybe like 5 or 6 stairs. That I had never noticed before. And I honestly, before he even came down the stairs, I didn't even notice they were there. It's so subtly kind of tucked away. And he said, I'm asking anyone within earshot if you'd like to come in for a prayer service in the shrine of St. Edward the Confessor. It gives me chills just to even say those words. And I happened to be standing right there. There was nobody, really, there was nobody else around. And I said, sure. I mean, the words just shot out of my mouth because I didn't even hesitate. I thought, okay, I need to do this thing. Why else would this happen? So I went up into the thing. And of course, I'm a prayer person. I enjoy prayer. And I thought, what harm could that do to pray for the high schoolers and for the leaders on this trip? So I went up there. Now, guys, you have to remember that this cathedral is 1,000 years old. All right. So let me give you a little bit of background. Edward the Confessor was the first Anglo-Saxon and only king of England to be canonized as a saint. Okay. And he was a Norman. Okay. No, he was a Norman Sorry, he was an Anglo-Saxon. It's funny because I'm getting feedback from my historian son, wants to make sure that I get this right. Okay. But what I wanted to say was, his Norman sympathies are seen in how Westminster Abbey was built, okay? Because there's a lot of Norman architecture that in the original Abbey, okay? And it was the first Norman Romanesque church in England, okay? And it was built between 1042 and 1052, okay? So you can imagine I'm in this building. It's 2011. I'm sorry, 2014, and I'm in the very innermost part of Westminster Abbey. And the Abbey was built around the shrine of St. Edward the Confessor, okay? So it's in the very center of everything. And there's a big marble. So I walk up the stairs. I walk up the stairs, and there's an area that is probably maybe 20 feet by 30 feet. And there's a beautiful rug on the floor. And part of it is peeled up. And on that floor, there is 1,000-year-old mosaic tile floor. Okay. I'm in awe of this because I'm standing there on a 1,000-year-old floor in a place that honors a man who was looked upon as one of the greater, more pious kings in English history. Okay. So I was really feeling very humbled, and there was the vicar that was in there, he had come down the steps, and it was a Westminster Abbey is part of the Church of England, so he was still down at the bottom of the steps, and I was there by myself in this shrine for just a few minutes. It seemed like longer, but I think it was probably only about maybe 2 or 3 minutes. And then another couple. But there was just the four of us in this hugely crowded cathedral in this shrine. Unbelievable. Once again, I felt like God was really trying to tell me something. But here I was in this inner sanctum, and I could literally ask any question to this vicar. He said, we had the prayer service. It was really nice. It was very intimate because there was only four of us. And it did make me a little bit sad because I thought that maybe more people needed to find out the value of prayer. But I wasn't really in a judgy mood. I was just so in awe of what I was experiencing. And so he said, does anybody have any questions? And immediately I started firing off questions about the history and who was, tell me more about Edward the Confessor, and, why is this area off limits? Why can't people come here and visit? That kind of thing. And he gave me some really great answers. And what I would say to you is that my holy moment came when I realized that I was standing in the right place at the right time, and um, God, I said yes to God. Okay. So I said, it's getting a little noisy here in my household during my Facebook Live, but that's okay. We'll deal with it, right? So it's nothing we haven't faced before together. So I said yes to God in that moment, even though I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, do I really have time to do this? And all this doubt started to creep in. But the words flew out of my mouth faster than I could say no. I just said, yes, absolutely, great. And I did it. And it was one of the most spiritual experiences I've ever had. And especially in that place where you are in a hugely crowded place filled with people, and you can find a pocket where it is quiet and reflective. There's candles burning, and it's very dimly lit. And there's Edward the Confessor's tomb right in front of you. There's an altar there, and this beautiful old floor. I mean to tell you, it was quite something. It was. I doubt if I will ever get that experience again, but I would do it in a heartbeat if I happened to be there when the prayer service was going on. And I really felt not only the presence of God in that place, but I felt the history of people's relationship with God. Edward the Confessor was called Edward the Confessor because he was a very pious man. He had all kinds of restrictions on his life, and don't believe he ever had children, and those kinds of things. So I have some pictures I want to show you. First of all, I'm going to show you, this is the front of Westminster Abbey, okay? And you can just see the stone is gorgeous. And it goes up and up and up, and we were all over inside that place. And then I also want to show you, okay, I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to show you this, which is some additional pictures of the frontage. Okay, so this is the approach to it, and you can see all of the windows, and it's just incredible. This is the other end of it. So it's just a gorgeous place. Okay, this is one of the only known images of Edward the Confessor. It says Edward Rex, which is Edward King, and it's a tapestry, an embroidery that somebody did of him and his crown, and I'm assuming those are his advisors, although I really don't know much about it. But this is an accepted image of him, and you can see that he's in the attire of the time, but he is holding his scepter and he does have a crown on. So we get the idea that, okay, he was king and he knew he was king. So again, back to the front. Now, inside the cathedral, it goes up and up and up. Like I said, it seems like 10 stories. I don't know how high it really is. There's an entranceway here, and then down, if you go in the doors and turn to the right, is kind of where the reception area is, and where you can pick up like the audio guides and things like that. And then there's places like the Poets Gallery, place where there's musicians buried, and then all these little chapels, like I've talked about, around the edges, where there are people of note that are buried. They have chapels. The first time we were there, they actually happened to have the coronation chair there in Westminster Abbey, which the stone of Skön is usually underneath it when there's a coronation that happens, but it was returned to Scotland, and so it's in the Scottish, in Edinburgh Castle, in the Scottish Honours area, which is like the jewel house at the Tower of London, where the crown jewels are. So it's very important, and it's going to be interesting to see when we have a coronation during our lifetime, which we will, to see if that stone is brought down from Scotland or not, because there has been much talk about this. But I hope today that you enjoyed our little trip to Westminster Abbey. I have been there, I've been to England 4 times, and I've been to Westminster Abbey 3 times, 3 of those 4 times. And every single time, it just never ceases to amaze me how beautiful it is. It's in the, it's near Parliament, near where the bell tower where Big Ben is, and the clock tower rather. It's pretty great place. So I highly recommend it. Maybe you can have a holy moment there too. Go during prayer time and see what happens. You never know what God is trying to tell you. And the next time God asks you something or invites you to do something, see, I believe that God speaks through people. And so that vicar that came down and said, would anybody like to attend a prayer service in the shrine of St. Edward the Confessor? And I said yes before I could even blink, or anything. That, I believe, was God inviting me into a holy situation. So think about that. Think about the next time you hear those words that you think God might be inviting you to do something. Say yes. Don't get in your own way, and invite God to work miracles in your life. And that's how it happens, is to say yes. Even when things are a little scary or a little uncomfortable, like, oh, my friends aren't religious, so I can't go with them. Say, you know what? I'll catch up with you later. This is important to me. I'm going to do it. And say yes to God. God always pays off every time. So I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you next time. I will be here on Thursday at 4 o'clock. And what are we talking about? Let me take a look here and see. I believe we are going to talk about, one of my favorite places. I'm so excited. We're going to talk about Holy Trinity Church in Stratford upon Avon. And oh boy, do I have a great story to tell about that. So I hope you'll join me on Thursday at 4. I hope everyone is well and good. And if things aren't going quite right, try praying about it and reach out and ask us to pray for you too, because we'll do that. All right, everybody take care. Have a great week. I'll see you on Thursday. Bye.